So what is politics and government really about? First and foremost, it's about survival. Individual and collective survival. And there's no such thing as survival in the abstract or survival as a universal for everybody. Survival is relative to your identity. Whatever you identify as is the thing that needs to be survived. So what do you identify as being? A Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, an atheist, a man, a woman, a French, German, Japanese, American, Native American, African American, rich, poor, upper class, middle class, lower class, gay, straight, transsexual, bisexual. Identity plays a huge part in politics. It's central. It's central. It's not just that the left plays identity politics. Everybody is playing identity politics all the time. That's what politics is about. And not only is it individual identity, it's collective identity. You know, do you identify as a hippie, as a punk, as a socialist, a communist, a capitalist, as an American? These are all collective identities, you see. People get attached to their collective identity just as much as they do to their individual identity. These things are fused together. And so this is why politics gets so heated and gets so emotional and it gets so irrational and it gets so unconscious, is because people are generally not conscious of the fact that identity is the thing that's being survived, because they haven't done this work that we've been doing with actualized identity. They don't understand what an ego is or what a collective ego is. They're just blindly acting out on selfishness. That's what low consciousness means. You're not conscious of your selfishness. You're not conscious of the selfishness of your tribe or of your collective. So many Americans are not conscious of how America as a whole is extremely selfish as a nation. Neither are African Americans or Jews or Muslims. See? So I'm not picking on any one particular group here. This is a rampant problem for 99% of people. Nobody is immune to this stuff. And it's extremely tricky. So what is politics and government really about? It's about moderating between different competing survival agendas, regulating this selfishness so that people are selfish, but not in extreme ways. Because if it's too extreme, it's not pleasant for anybody. And in fact, selfishness itself becomes its own worst enemy. It's karma. You might think that, well, but Leo, but being super selfish, what's wrong with that? Well, what's wrong with that is it comes back around. What's wrong with going and raping your neighbor's wife? What's wrong is that then he comes back and does it to your wife. See, if you could just go do that and get away with it without any repercussions, then there wouldn't be anything wrong with it, per se. You could have moral objections, but I mean, just like pragmatically, there'd be nothing wrong with it. But in practice, there's a big problem because it's tit for tat. You do something nasty to somebody else, they do it back to you. Have you noticed how this works in relationships? A relationship needs to be rather even, where one side is not so selfish that it's taking everything and dominating the other side, because that ends up being unsustainable. Because this side, the one that's getting dominated and oppressed, builds a resentment. And what ends up happening is that it gets so resentful that it takes a knife in the middle of the night and cuts the other guy's dick off. That's what happens. That's reality. Right? So we need to come to a sort of truce and we can say, okay, look, I won't cut your dick off, you won't cut my dick off, and we'll live peacefully. Okay? Can we agree to that? And of course, some people agree to it and some people still don't agree to it because they think that I can get away with it. I'll cut off his dick, but he won't cut off mine because I'll have an army behind me. See, it's sort of, but then that doesn't last because there's always a bigger army. And then also, you're always living in fear that someone's going to cut your dick off. Even if you have a giant army, still, when that tyrant or dictator is sleeping at night, he's still having dreams and nightmares about getting his dick cut off. So what is politics about? It's about distribution of power and resources. This very silly idea that's thrown around in the media that, oh, these socialists are for redistribution of wealth, and that this is a bad thing. All government and politics is about redistribution of power and resources. That's the whole game. It's a giant negotiation. We're sitting at a negotiation table and we're trying to decide who has too much power and too many resources. And the way that most people play the game, because they're so selfish, is that their strategy is simply to maximize their own power and resources. They don't care about fairness or equality. So even if I already have more power than everybody else, more money than everybody else, if I'm a stage orange typical CEO or corporate person, I don't care. I need more. I need more power. I need even more resources, because it's not enough that I have billions. I need trillions, because I have enemies out there. Leo, if I don't do it, some other company will do it. So I got to do it. That's their thinking. It's all about redistribution of power and resources. What do you think lobbying is about? Every single major corporation in America, and really all around the world, lobbies their government. Why? So that the rules of the game can be rigged in such a way that resources are redistributed to them rather than their competitors. That's business. That's life. That's survival. A company can't not do this. If it's not doing this, it doesn't survive. But also, this produces a lot of collateral damage. There are worse and better ways to go about it. There are pathological ways and there are healthy ways to go about it. There are unecological ways and there are environmentally friendly and ecological ways to go about it. There are unconscious ways and conscious ways to go about it. Politics is about reduction of brutality and oppression. At least that's what it should be about. That's what it is in the long term. It's about creating a fair playing field for people. It's about building infrastructure and systems that increase freedom and allow for greater complexity and more interesting things to be done by all the citizens of the society. It's about community. It's not just about utility and pragmatism. It's also about a sense of community. You can participate with others in a festival, carnival, or a football game, or singing the national anthem, or pledging allegiance to the flag, or participating in some sort of large-scale religious gathering. You know, these are all communities, and we get satisfaction from being part of a community. Politics and government is about evolution and about emergence of higher holons. So don't you dare think that evolution ends with man. We are just a tiny speck, a little particle of something much larger that is emerging and happening. And really everything that society is doing as it's evolving is really beyond our individual control. Evolution is guiding all of it. And evolution is guiding it towards higher levels of organization and higher levels of consciousness. And you need to understand and be humbled by that so that you don't think that you're at the top of the food chain, because you're not. And if you think you are, you're going to behave like a devil, and there's going to be pathology as a result and lots of suffering. Find your proper place in the universe is my point. Government is also about creating a consensus amongst millions of people with diverse survival agendas. Of course, with so many people to please, not everyone can be satisfied, but there are some decisions which benefit the majority and which are generally beneficial to most people, which are the ones that we should be caring the most about. Government is about building a consensus between millions of people, which becomes a battle of agendas, which is why we have culture wars, we have policy debates, we have economic manipulation, we have legal battles. in the courts, and then we have actual war. What is all of this about? It's about enforcing one's own survival agenda and changing the culture in such a way that it benefits you and your tribe.